Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your art Sherpa, and today I'm going to be showing you how to paint these adorable bluebirds. But beyond that, I'm going to be showing you some very important art decisions that we can be making. I'm going to talk about the way we should think about things as artists, how we look at a reference and change the reference to make art instead of just recreating references, which is really important. So this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about picking background colors and making things even bigger and better and more awesome. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He helps me with his crazy things by switching where we're filming at the last minute. I was going to do it at the easel, but I've been painting all day, and I literally mean all day, and my eyes are having a dry eye flare up, and I was just like, at the end of the day going, I just need to sit down a little bit, sip some wine, and maybe do a smaller project. But what I'll do is I'll get deeper into that project so that you guys can really see things. I see some old names I haven't seen in a while here tonight. Hi, how are you guys doing? And I see some regular names that we see every single Patron live. So how are you guys doing? Now, if you got here just through the email, you may be invited to this as a special sort of end of the year thing. We like to reach back to people who patroned us in the Glam Studio. And invite them back in on occasion into things. And then, of course, taking care of our regular patron community with stuff they voted on. So if you're painting this tonight, other people vote on it, and that's why you're painting it. I'm going to be starting out with titanium white, doxazine purple, ultramarine blue, and I suspect a little bit of my burnt umber and potentially either Mars black or some of this Payne's gray. And I want to make a kind of blended background. I do want it to be out of focus and diffused, but I want it to be something that is really standouty, So I'm thinking about that right now. Like, how do we make these birds stand out, but how do we keep it feeling like winter? Those are challenging things sometimes. And so we're going to see if we can play with that. There's some things we can do to get there. We can play with value and we can play with color. But there's some things that we'll have to keep, which is like the way that structures are in the distance, the way the woods are, and how we create out of focus elements of that. So I'm going to put out some white paint. This is my giant tube of titanium white. Just putting it out. John's getting me the hair dryer. Oh, Peaches says it's the first time Patron Live video. Well, welcome, Peaches. I am so glad you got to make one of these. I'm trying to do stuff like this, like just a few times a year, just to make sure that we reach back and never forget to say thank you, not just to the people who are helping us today, but to people who have helped us in the past, because you never get anywhere without other people, in my opinion. In my opinion. I think that's true. You took my thing away. You took the thing away. I can't see it there. It's upside down and backwards. It's not readable. I need that back. Oh, man, I know it's giving you grief. I'm so sorry.
So this one's still... Okay, so this is the thing. Notice that in this screen, this is upside down and backwards here, but it's not over there.
I don't know what that is.
So, man, what I'm going to tell you is I programmed the broadcaster to flip the screen, but it didn't flip the chat.
No, I'm going to send some love to Diane and say, that'll even be like tonight's little wish and intention, some love in Diane, because it's the first time that she's come back since a loss, which is not unusual. Sometimes when we experience a profound loss or profound stress, it makes it very difficult to paint or be creative, because sometimes our creativity comes from that feeling of peace or feeling good, and rough stuff, being fatigued, you would think this would take me out of painting, but honestly, this is very comforting for me. But that's not the universal experience for everybody. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to get a big mop brush, a little bit wet. So I'll use the Princeton. I'm going to grab my white and I'm going to pre-paint everything with a nice damp coat of white. And that is so that I can do some really fun blending techniques to create this sort of out of focus, but maybe more fantastical wood feeling to it. You could also do yellow behind these birds and really help them show up, or oranges, or run into those things. I thought about getting into some like really shocking pinks, but again, I wanted to pull into the winter. And I didn't want you guys to have to run out and buy like, Anthrodone blue or something. So this is where we're going. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just a little bit of my ultramarine blue. And we're going to get this into the white. We want some spots of out of focus ultramarine blue. We'll start with that. That's always a very good color in a winter sky. And we're going to put them around really randomly. One of the things that you learn when you do any traditional art track, and what I mean by that is you're showing at juried events or you're going places, if you're going to paint traditional subjects, we are going to soften this by taking a soft, clean brush and pulling across. And you can see that immediately starts to take those shapes out of focus. And again, we're keeping them light because we want the birds to show. But you'll start to notice when you do any traditional sort of exhibit track that you can't just paint things as they are. You can't just paint a beautifully executed horse. You have to paint that horse falling through the sky. But you have to paint the subject more than what the subject is unless you're in an art league. And so sometimes it's good to learn these skills because you kind of get the sense of like, how do I use a reference to keep my artwork clean and looking like what I want it to, but also how do I find space in this composition that's more than maybe everything that the photo gave me. So I'm blending a bit of this, right, with my brush, and I'll come back here and again. And come across. The surface is still pretty wet. And you can see the clean, dry brush does a darn good job. And then I can come down. And you can see each direction that I'm blending, right, takes it out. Now, at about this place, you either have to wash and dry the brush again or get a different brush. So, I'm ready to sip. There we go. Like you do.
Like you do.
The next thing that I'm going to do while this is wet is I'm going to take a little of my burnt umber and my ultramarine blue. And I'm going to paint some lines that could be twigs.
Some big twig.
Well, trees, twigs. Right, that's what we have. I don't want these to be dark. I need them to be diminished and in our background. And I don't want to lose everything that I put in. And I'm going to have to go quickly enough that it's going to blend for me. So hopefully I made it. Oh, yay, but barely. I'm going to have to blend vertically, and we're really almost at the end of it, so I may have to come and get a little dampness on my brush. So there is some speed to this method. We've got to get in here early enough to create a blend. And if you lose some of the delicacy in your piece, then you come right back and you put it in. I might need to do a mister, which of course I didn't bring over here. Sometimes you don't bring those over when you need them. So it's just something to play with. Creating that background that speaks of something, but isn't something. Is my mister over there on that table and I'm not seeing it?
Hold on a second. I remember seeing
That's probably what I knocked off the table earlier. I knocked something right off the table. It was probably the mister. It's usually what goes. I don't want to darken this up too much. So I'm also going to make sure that I come back with some white. So you can see it actually does go into our gray. And it can be real easy to get messy, so be careful and cautious when you're doing this. I'm going to rinse this out and dry it as much as I can. This is a silver silk. This is a pretty soft brush. Another really great brush I use for this, if you've never seen one of these, is this fantastic freestyle. Nope, that's Febreze, sweetheart.
Oh, look.
He just brought me a wonderful.
I walked by it and I looked at it. I was like, look, I just ordered it.
That says water? You were like, it's just water. It'll be good.
But I thought.
Down here at the bottom where I don't have a nice corner, I'm going to pull that in. But now we have kind of a feeling of a little bit of that wooded feel. I still want to play with that, I think. I love everyone who's here. I see so many people. Let's keep playing and let's think about this stuff as playing. And that can be hard to do, to remember to keep our art to be playing, because we can get so frustrated with ourselves when you start putting really intense expectations on yourself.
Not dropping the water bottle?
Did I do it? Is that what I dropped? Okay, well, we'll get by without it. We'll be okay. You know, we'll just put in some little bits of distant. We don't want them to be dark. We just want them to be implied. See how we're implying them? They're far away. This is a 3/4 inch angle brush. You could do this with a bright or a round. It really doesn't have to be this brush. So similar to what we had, but we've taken it in a different colorway so that we can feel like it's winter. The next thing is I do want to create an early splattering. I don't see John left on me, so I will. Oh, freestyle. So the brush that I mentioned that was really cool, it's a pain to wash, but it's wonderful to use, is the 4-inch Liquitex Freestyle. I don't, you guys know I don't love everything by Liquitex, but I do love tons of stuff. Can you bring my bottle of white fluid acrylic over too? Fluid acrylic. That's a brush I gotta wash. See, there it is. We're through it, but now we found it. The white fluid acrylic, isn't it on there? Table over there? Then never mind. I don't have it. It's that kind of a day, guys. Oh, there it is. So this is the golden fluid titanium white. I'm going to put a little bit out with my other white, and I'm going to get one of my splatter brushes. You could use any splatter technique you wanted. But I'm going to lightly make sure that my background also has an ample amount of snow. That way I can get my new drop cloth here completely covered in paint. And I want it to be, and you'll notice that whenever you do this, that it will take down the contrast of a background. So if you have a background that's too contrasty, this is another great way to kind of soften it and reduce that contrast. And I'm just looking, and in this, I know sometimes splattering can seem super stressful, but in this, the splatters really are not too mission critical. You just want a nice ample little bit of snow feeling like it's going on. I got sprinkles all over my iPad. Rebecca Hoffman and Christine Campbell and Laura White and Stephanie Barlow. How are we doing, guys? Now we're going to dry this. Because to do the next layer, we want it to be dry. So John went and got all that water so nicely and kindly for all of us.
And then you're like, we don't need you.
I just got through. One of the things that I've learned in art is that there's always a way to get through. I have been in live painting events where I didn't have white. There's always a way to get through.
There's always a way.
There's always a way.
All right. So, don't use heat. You guys know that kind of stuff. Thanks for joining in the Patron group here. This is kind of cool. So thank you guys for helping make all this wonderful stuff. We do it possible. This is literally for you guys. So thank you. It's a yeah. You know the generally you just gotta make sure you get it dry enough so that your splatter, especially those thick splatter dots, get dry enough so that you don't drag them and make them into little smears. So, just takes a little extra. That's why she keeps touching it. It's like doot doot, making sure it's thoroughly dry. Well, that's anticlimactic, like watching paint dry. I mean, you guys must really love this. You know what I mean? Watch paint dry. That's commitment.
I think we're there.
I think that's good.
I think we're there. We'll find out in a minute.
I'm doing everything I can.
You can talk to our community.
To try to.
You can do that.
My job is literally to liven up paint drying. So
I don't know that there's a real way to do that, but thank you for giving it an attempt.
This is my job. I mean.
Oh my goodness. Today, guys, was such a painting marathon. I'm going to put out some black paint. This is by the same company. But it's the abstract acrylic in the line since their student line, but it's really good, so I don't generally worry about it. I've got my umber here. I may try to put out some burnt sienna. It plays nicely against the umber. And you can always lighten things with a yellow. The yellow I see that I can get to easily is my yellow ochre. So I'll put that out right here. I use that as my yellow. So I locate the CAD yellow. Because that's what we're doing. Now what's great is I can use an angle brush to do this twig coming up. And the twig coming up is fantastic. I do like the positioning of the twigs. I remember when I was looking for this, there were things that I wished were in this composition that weren't. So, I may lean into that. And I'm going to start with a very dark, I might even get some of my blue on this one, a very dark twig color. Coming from the bottom, I can kind of get this in easily at first using this, and then
it's still kind of hard to
see.
Yeah,
it's hard to see my twig.
No, just it's a big twig, so it's easier to see it from overhead.
Oh, okay, because it's a thick, big twig.
Yeah, because it's a big twig.
It's a thick, big twig. In our nice big twig, it's got some interesting little fantastical pine branches coming off of it. So we get to play with that. And that's going to be nice in the background. That gives us some great texture in the background before we ever get to our birds. And then let's put some of these little twigs here. And by using this brush, I can create nice little elements of branches. The number one thing that probably messes with people on branches is that they don't take long enough strokes and that they make kind of a pitchfork. And the pitchfork isn't, particularly helpful to them. While this is having a dry, I'm going to come in here and get a little bit of my burnt sienna and my yellow ochre into this. And I'm going to just come across and start to kind of highlight this little twig. Sometimes I might add a little white in there to help some of the contrast happen. And this across stroke, it mimics a little bit of what we have going on with the wood, right? Take some just pure sienna. Because wood has a lot of personality. You can always come through and add color. You can go over the lines you have or add more. You really can't get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess you can, but who's to tell you that, right? Like, who's to tell you your art is wrong? That would be so weird. I'm going to just pull this here, right? We're just going to pull this down. You can see how messy and kind of hot messy my little brush is. I don't care. I'm just very relaxed about it. Brush can be messy if it wants to. Brush can be disgruntled if it wants to. I, as well as others, love the background. Sherpa's really getting into tweeting. I can't go on Twitter, you. Can't go. Got family on Twitter saying crazy things. I'm trying to avoid getting drawn into that. Oh my goodness. Come on the platform to like start trouble. So I'm going to take a little bit of white in my blue. And I'm going to just very lightly maybe apply some snow to some of this branch. You can see I'm just doing this on the edge. And when I want to make an irregular shape, I will sometimes move to the toe or the point of the brush. Maybe some snow caught there. Snow will often catch in between the little twig areas. Katie says, I so need this right now. Katie, man, I need this too. Guys, the painting tomorrow, I don't know what I needed to get out. I have now decided that I might do a Christmas stallion like every year because we had the one that was the unicorn. This one came out so spectacular that maybe next year there has to be another one.
Mm-hmm.
That's how good he was. He was that good. That looks pretty good. It feels like it had some snow in it, and it also then puts context into the snow of things around it. I can always come back right in here and I will load heavier on the side. So this is a lot like a palette knife. If I'm stroking down, all the paint will be on this side, but if I'm stroking up, I load the paint on the other side. It's a weird thing. But sometimes when you're new to painting or you haven't used a tool a lot, thinking about the directionality of the stroke and where the paint is loaded is sometimes a little hard to think of. But you need to.
Yeah.
And so I like to point those things out. I might get a little yellow ochre in there and some white. And I'm going to work it mostly into the toe. Let's come up here and kind of imply that this is perhaps broken.
Yeah.
In some way. I'm going to rinse out thoroughly.
Thoroughly rinse it.
I'm going to come back with just some white. Not all the snow, but some of the snow will get a highlight. So some of it's got highlights?
Yep.
Helps. That helps. Helps it feel snowish. Snowish.
Snowish.
Snowish.
Always good to have a little snow.
Always good to have a little snow. Oh, is this one better with the Bluejays or the icicles? So I didn't know I put stuff up for a vote. I never know what's going to go. What I'll say is the icicles are going to give you painting that kind of fantastical holiday winter scene, right? I mean, because these things are never all together at the same time. You know, we don't have the ribbons and the greenery and the beautiful window with the candlelights and perfect icicles dripping down. But these are all things that we want to do. And by adding the birds, we took a very stagnant painting and put this in. This is, in another way, this is a bit of a more natural painting. It's not quite as natural as, say, bird in flight that we're doing.
Right.
But it's pretty natural. We're going to work on patterning on feathers. We'll probably be a little more involved in this, I would think, than even the other one. And you said that I have no other colors here. That's wait until I need yellow, which I now do.
You go find you yellow.
I am being such a burden to John tonight.
No, it's fine.
I'm going to take a little of my green and my brown at first. And I'm going to do on almost the toe any cad yellow is fine. We've been organizing and rebuilding the studio, trying to get back to where we were, you know, because everything we built there, we had to tear down to bring here. You got labels? No, I don't need naples. I need like a cad yellow. There's so many paints in there. There's so many. Snowlicious is Heather C. So just pulling this in. Are you just bringing me naples or is this a cad yellow? Okay. I labeled it. Sometimes I label things to be helpful. I'm not saying it is helpful. Just saying sometimes I do label it to be helpful. So you can see this brush lends itself to making these long lines. Could you do it with just a round or a detail? Yes. I like to change around my brushes. Even sometimes to show you guys what everything will do. Bring these around here. These are almost like these little fliffy fliffs. I like these little fliffy fliffs because they're super energetic. So we fliffy fliff all around and then we'll come and highlight the fliffy fliff. There is definitely composition under here. There's composition and things under here. So you want to have some of these things coming on and off.
Sorry, that was a little off the screen there, guys. I didn't see that.
Well, only because I've been just running you ragged. I have been running John ragged today. Laura says she's on holiday next week, so she's going to paint on her staycation. You know, I think I'm really glad. I'm sorry for the reason that so many people are on staycation, but I'm really glad that we're able to create a bunch of art and create a space for people to be on a staycation that is hopefully, entertaining and good. I hope so. I honestly, before COVID, mostly did staycations. Just because I'm often like working from home or working in, we've got kids and it's tough to get, little people on a plane. That's not a vacation is for me. Flying with my kids is not a vacation because I have the kind of kids that will like, for inexplicable reasons, suddenly ask about bombs in the airport, like for no reason, next to the security guard, not even trying to punk me.
Oh, yeah.
It's just when the thought occurs to them. Even if we've had a conversation before we went to the airport about appropriate conversations, and then just getting no one's ever happy with their seat. And, it's always kind of all that going on. So I find that I sometimes vacation at home. Oh, Jennifer's saying that she's got neighbors that are shoveling for her. I'm going to lift this a bit just so that I can get a better angle on doing these little marks. They're wonderful energy marks. And what's really terrific about all of this is that it's going to create a lot of depth and dimensionality in our wonderful scape. We're going to add another layer of snow, by the way. We're going to do 3 layers snow. On the YouTube channel, I tend to do 1 layer snow, like we just snow it at the end. I'm never sure like how many layers of snow before I completely like crack everybody in the room. Where they're like, that is, you flicked snow too much and my kitchen is taking the damage and there can be no more snow. There we go. Anybody eating anything yummy? That's the other thing we're doing, like cooking more. My mom sent me a coffee pot.
Oh, yeah.
Early for Christmas. My mom has this really special coffee pot. And she knows how hard I work. And she's been like a little worried about me that I can't get to Starbucks anymore. Is is there even a Starbucks open anymore? I don't know.
I don't know.
But if there was, it's not where I am. So I don't have that option anymore. And she was just worried about me keeping going. So she sent me the best coffee pot in the world. Who is now like my daughter who never drank coffee before, suddenly is like a coffee aficionado. My eldest. She comes down today And she's like, I'm on a little bit of a break because I told my instructor I need some coffee. And she said I can go get some. She's like, so I'm going to have to go in front of you because school. I'm like, I'm not even first in line at my own coffee pot at home. So we get that dark value going first. And then I'm going to take out my fresh from the cardboard container, Acrylic cadmium yellow. I could use the yellow ochre, but it's not gonna be bright, and I kind of want to brighten up some of this green a bit. Snicker cookies. Who has Snicker cookies? Vicky's got red licorice. Oh, yum. And then Anne's like, I love my Ninja coffee pot. Yeah, sometimes it's weird little things that make everything kind of copable, right? I'm adding a little bit of yellow. This will be the next kind of jump up. I'm going to come on the outside, add some of these. Not to everything. We don't want to take out all the dark value, but we want to add some dimensionality. Be really great down here. Ooh, yeah, the stallion for tomorrow. Boom. Boom. What happened to me there is I was going to change him to a red background, which honestly I think is spectacular. But then in the middle of painting it, I realized would be like beyond 3 hoops for the community. And that, so many people like that one. I didn't want to make it so hard to do. So I went back to black stallion on black background with a simpler color palette. So he'd be more doable for everybody. But I will show you guys. I'll post in the Patron group what the finished red version is. Because he does look good in red. When the background's kind of red and he's blended into the red in the same way that you blend into the black. It's just like spectacular. So we've got a little bit of a layer of another dimensionality. Oh, I saw the retreat in the website, but I didn't understand anything. So can we tell you about it? Can you tell them about the retreat, John, while I add yellow to our green mix to create a lighter color and some white? And then you tell them all about
the retreat?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm painting in this light green.
I don't know where to begin. That's
well. What is the retreat? When is the retreat? What are we going to do?
So the retreat has been rescheduled to October.
Next year.
Yep. Well, we've missed this October.
Next year. No, isn't it October next year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, okay, so let me go back in here. Not 20. It's on our website. Let me go take a look at the exact date. You just hit me with stuff. My brain was like.
His brain was like. I can explain it while I'm painting white lines. I thought you would like to, so I pitched over to you. But I was not trying to add to the heart of your day that I have been adding to the heart of his day all day. Have you ever had that with your partner where you just wake up and you love them so much, and then everything you do makes their day just a little bit harder instead of easier? And the more you try not to, the more you make it harder.
2021.
2021. Mm-hmm. I don't have the dates, but basically
Wednesday, October 6th, we start, and it goes through Sunday the 10th.
And it's an all day, every day, immersive. I mean, I don't sleep in the room with you, but other than that, it's an all day breakfast, lunch, and dinner, immersive, all-inclusive painting experience. We have plein air painting experiences. We have in-room painting experiences. We're going to cover watercolor and acrylic. We have really awesome locations. It takes place in Hot Springs, Arkansas, which seemed like a good idea at the time. Because, COVID, when we first started planning, COVID hadn't happened. And you get your art materials. You just have to bring yourself. You don't have to bring anything. You can. We have lists of things. We even have they have this like Michelin kind of chef, like this fancy chef, and he created a meal like based on what we do, and a drink and a cocktail and all that stuff. We got like berries for breakfast. It's like it's really nice. And you guys get like to go to the hot spring spa and all of that. And it's just real immersive. And we kept the amount of people coming really low. And that was really so that I could be with everybody, because I'm eating with you, I'm painting with you, I'm being with you. I don't know that anybody wants to be with me that much, but that's what we decided to do for the retreat. We got completely thrown by COVID, I think, like everybody else, because when we booked the room, we got to get the tickets the price that we were able to sell to you, we had to like prepay for the block, and it was like not with a refund. And we got bonded, but you know what you can't get bonded for? Like acts of God, pandemics. And John was even like, well, are you sure we can? And they were like, no, never a pandemic. And we were like, well, how likely is a pandemic? Likely. Super, super likely, apparently. So it was a whole thing. So but they were really great, and they rescheduled, and the venues and events where we prepaid like to cover like the park and everything for painting, plein air painting, all of that. Everybody was willing to reschedule and let us move the event. So now it's October. I'm it's pretty sold out, but I think there's a couple tickets. John knows that more than I do. So now, did you see how we did all those various levels of like really delicious, yummy, wonderful?
So we're in a unique place where there are a few tickets that are available.
Right.
And there are a couple of folks who may we may have a couple slots that open up still. So we're kind of on a little waiting list for a few people, but we know we have a couple tickets for sure.
Yeah, plane tickets aren't included, and we really, really recommend that you get trip insurance, because the world is crazy. But you want to get it if they'll like cover like, I don't know, other crazy stuff happening out of the blue. All right, so this didn't have any pine cones, but I had really wanted it to have pine cones. So I'm gonna take a good number 8 cat's tongue and get this wet. And I'm going to come here into my burnt sienna and my Mars black. And I'm going to come right here. And I'm going to pull in these little teardrop strokes. They're in a fan. You're going to be doing these tomorrow too. And can kind of curve down. And you wanting to create kind of a pine cone shape. Let's come here and maybe put one right there. Might not be a wise place to put it. It's okay though. It'll just layer in. Sometimes I'll be putting objects in and I'll be like, well, that wasn't a wise place to put it because I'm going to be putting a twig right there. But you know, hey, it's what you do. Just right now, getting the shape in. And we will come back and put some of the greenery over our pine cones, rinse out. And let's come back with a little bit of the yellow ochre and burnt sienna. And you're going to tip some of the cone. And then when you come here like to the center, you can kind of go on the side because they face you a little bit. And these are just gestural little pine cones. I was really annoyed that the greenery didn't have pine cones. I was like, it needs them. You want to layer these in. What? Does she want your sock again?
She just wants to be pet.
Every time. I'm going to add a little yellow, and I'm going to grab a little white. I'm going to come here. Actually, let's start here, John. I think just a little bit of color to those there as well. Just little textures. Just touching. Those are nice. Rinsing out. I'm going to need new. Okay. Nobody laughed, but I need new water. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm going to take my green and burnt sienna, and I'm going to make sure that these little pine cones are tucked a little bit into the trees. I'm using like a number 4 round. Just making sure. So sorry. A little bit of greenery there. Blend them in. See how we're blending them in? We're blending them in. This particular painting is making things so dirty. Some days are just dirty, dirty painting days.
Nope.
So we're just making sure that they're here, but they're kind of nestled. This one is really pretty, but I'm struggling getting into the snowy Christmas scenes. Any suggestions? You know, that is totally reasonable, and I suggest painting summer, flowers, spring. If like, I love this. We just moved to a place that snows, and so I'm super excited about snow scenes. So excited to paint them. However, maybe you're like, snow is not my jam. Winter was coming, but I moved somewhere, so paint something that's like totally different, a vase of flowers, something that gets you out of that space. And that's perfectly okay, by the way. So as soon as I have that, guess what I get to do?
Dry it?
No, let it snow and then dry it.
Oh.
Because we were doing multi-dimensional snow.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
I bring that in there. This I will snow, but I'll snow a little lighter because I don't want to take out all the contrast. So the snow layer that I do here will help this level of the painting feel like it's part of the background, right? Because it'd be weird for it to be snowing just in the deep woods, but not where the birds are. That would be very strange. And believe you me, somebody will ask about it. And that lets us get, going there in what's happening there. I'm going to dry this.
And of course, just to make sure, you get, those the dots all dry when you're going on to the next layer. That's about it. So, yeah, I'm super excited that we're making books now. We got the coloring books coming out pretty good in the print shop, I guess we call it, the bindery. We have a legitimate digital press. It prints books. Well, it doesn't bind them, but it prints the contents of the books pretty good, and the cover of the book, and it does it really good. I'm really excited about it. That's what's on my brain. I have a lot of books on the brain, so that's what I'm.
You're answering, how's your day going?
Well, I don't know. They don't have a screen. I gave it to you.
Rachel's like, I'm in Australia and it does not snow here. So maybe like a holiday painting, but that's like a beach. I have to tell you, so if you guys noticed on the channel where we voted on, did anybody want to do some Narnia paintings? Because I found these great white lions and it really inspired me to do some Narnia. And in that, when I'm designing for that right now. So for sure you've got a lamppost and for sure you have the white lion's face. However, I too was like, man, I've done a lot of snow recently. And so I did a design which is the water parting for Aslan, if you remember that. And you wipe that out, you push the. So, anyways, I think I got pulled out of the snow a little bit. I mean, he's going to be in the snow. This particular one will be in the snow, but I think that that's not unusual. Sometimes we just are not in the weather that we're in. So I'm going to, these birds have a twig that they're on. So I'm going to take this little twig here, say it's going to come out. And it has a little bit of this. And then it really even comes up here. I want to make this an interesting shape. I'm going to do a really fun thing here. I got to get the twig in, and I want it to be a little bit twiggier. The first one is dark. rather than having two parallel twigs, which I wasn't as excited about, I'm going to go like that. I just feel better about that twig positioning, but I'm not done. Because why would I be done?
Why?
Why would I be done? That would be crazy. I'm also going to take my round brush and a couple of places. I am going to bring some little downward twigs like this, different heights. These are for berries. I felt like there wasn't really a lot of color to counterbalance all the cool colors. So I was like, oh, we need to have some berries or something. Just kind of implying these little rough wiggly bits that will hold berries later.
Those are later berries.
Later berries. And we're going to do a similar thing where we kind of create a sense of bark and everything using our angle brush and pull it down. But we're going to kind of come across the center of it. Just bring it across. What's happening here is I got too much water on my brush, and I love Sennelier as a paint company. Love them. What you'll notice is when you paint many, many different brands of acrylic, depending on the acrylic polymer they use, some of them are thirsty and you have to use a lot of water to thin them, and some of them are very water responsive, like acrylic is, and you have to be a little careful with the water that you're doing. And come along here and add some yellow and some white. Make some rough bark. Maybe highlight some of the twigs and areas of twig. Not all of it. You can just highlight some of it. We have a fire bush outside, and it attracts like every bird on the planet. I'm going to add a little bit of ultramarine to it to gray it out. And kind of a grayed out highlight with some of the bark, giving it some personality, right? I'm just touching and pulling. I'm letting the brush do my work for me. Brush, 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 brush. So value is what's letting us see that, the dark values of the branch, and then the shape is created by as we add highlights. The texture is by the way we're applying the paint onto the canvas. We just pull across, and then you've got wonderful, wonderful bark texture The trick that you've got to be in is to not be hyper judgmental of your bark texture and super understanding and forgiving of mine. Because that's a thing that happens, right? That's a thing that can really happen to any of us. I'm going to take a little bit of my white and into my blue here. And add some like snow, maybe like right here. Because that might collect there. Maybe not everywhere, but some of the places. So a little bit of snow got on this twig too.
Yeah.
Because, snowing. And then we'll come back with a little bit of the pure white and highlight some of it. And I'm using this sort of rough expression because snow doesn't pile up neatly. Not until you snow blow it or something. I don't know. John's the only one who's doing the snow blowing, so I could be completely wrong on my assessment of what happens when you blow snow.
It's sort of like it's not really so blowing as so much as snow compressing and hosing. It's like a fire hose of snow.
There we go. And so now we have these kind of really wonderful twigs. I'm going to rinse, 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 rinse. Let's put out a little bit of our cad red. We've got our purple here. So we'll just lean into that. You could also do a quinacridone magenta. Take a little bit of the purple and the quinacridone magenta. Paint out some little berries, little berry shapes. All right. This is the dark value. We'll see the berries as we highlight them. Putting berries into the stems. And then on the edges of the stems, but in little clusters. And just touching my little brush to do that. Now, normally I always work from a reference, but I paint a lot of berries, so I feel pretty confident in my berry painting. If you're like, man, I can't think of what berries might look like, you know what? You've got a smartphone. Google some berries in winter.
Yep. And
you'll see some twigs that have berries for sure. But what we're going to get from these berries is that we'll get a little pop of color that creates some drama. That's much needed. And again, I may have put these berries in the wrong place. It depends on where I put my bird, but I may just put them just below. So when you're painting, a lot of times when you're painting, and I should show you guys how to do this. I should show you guys how to do color studies and then turn that into your guide for your reference, where you really change something up. We've done different color studies and you've been like, I think it'll be like this, and value studies and how you turn it into that. We'll have to do that sometime, because I think that's super useful. Big berries, small berries. Maybe that berry goes in front of that other twig. We don't know. Honestly, it's just kind of a nice little winter still life before we added any birds.
It really is.
Happy and cool and, you know. That's a nice little dispersion of berries. You just kind of want to think of that as you're going. Are you very, very happy today? Are you very, very happy today? I'm just
very reasonably happy.
Tapping the little brush and just putting down them little bits of berries. Now, I'm going to come in and pull a lot more cad red out. Not to pure cad. That would be a lot. And just touch up some of the little berries. And they really show as berries, even though we're kind of toning them back with the cadmium.
Mm-hmm.
Cadmium's such a luminous color that when you put it in with the docs, you still get a pretty luminous color. Those are looking nice. Just painting in little cadberry, the cadmium berries. Don't eat these berries any more than you would eat cadmium paint. That's my nature advice that I'm completely not really qualified to give. Mm-hmm. Though I did a lot of outdoor stuff, not as much as John with his scouting, but like a lot with our horseback riding growing up. Long distance trail riding, definitely did a lot.
Yeah.
Pamela Hurley says, I want to learn to do those things too. Step out of the comfort zone, self-taught and trying to correct bad habits. You know, and here's the thing, Pamela, I don't know what habit it is, so I may be speaking out of turn, but in my experience, a lot of times what you might feel like is a bad habit will later be a technique, but you'll pull it out when you want it and it won't be happening to you when you don't expect it. You know, it's really interesting. But I could be speaking out of turn. John, are the berries poison, says Teresa.
I don't know.
They're red berries in nature. They cannot be safe. This is not often a color where nature's saying, yeah, it's good. It's good. Help yourself. I mean, raspberries are complete like mislead, right? I don't know, but I haven't looked up like, are the fire berries like poisonous on the bush? Everybody went to eat them, but I don't know if they were poisonous. Another thing is when I got this reference, right? You can tell that the birds are photoshopped into the environment. They were in a cage somewhere. Which is another reason why it's good to realize, how do you take a reference and turn it into a painting? I know I'm dancing around, I'm sorry. Now,
that's great.
Last dance for romance. Last dance. I'm not going to completely go pure cad, but it's going to be pretty close. There's a little bit of the docs in there, but barely any. Just loosely adding a pop of some of it. So we have three values. We have the purple and red that's very deep. We have a mid-tone, and then we come back with a highlight. Mm-hmm. And that's enough to really create that sense of berries, and it's the little roundness of the stroke and the way they cluster together. So sometimes it's tempting to just go, I'm going to paint all perfect little round berries. And Kimberly is like, so relaxing and pretty without the birds. Yeah, it actually isn't bad right now. I imagine we're going to see some of these done without birds. Just a nice little landscape.
Mm-hmm.
The bluebirds now, though, in this space will pop. The mix of the ultramarine blue and the phthalo blue for the birds, and then, you know, their colors contrasting against the space will ultimately allow them to pop. And, you know, guys, I'm noticing it's like 8, and I really want to spend an hour at least on the birds, and my eye is like flaring. Would you guys be willing for me to do a part 2? I'll email everybody I emailed the first time. Please don't unsubscribe, because we love being able to reach out to you, but you can if you don't want to know, of course. Reach out to you, and then we'll do another one of these.
I think it'd be fun.
Would that be okay? Because I need to go. I don't know if you see it. So what happens is my tear ducts get stressed. And it's not you guys or work or anything that stresses me. Of course, it's the usual stuff that stresses everybody, right?
It's her husband.
No,
who
it's not you.
stresses her
It's
out.
not you, baby. It's not you or the kids. It's not your mom. She's lovely. Not my mom.
You have such a perfect life.
You can basically guess who it is by all the people I say it is. Like, oh, I know
You're
who
a
it is.
YouTuber. You have stressful life.
Sometimes, but so you get stressed and you don't get a lot of sleep, and then your tear ducts get inflamed, and then you don't make enough moisture for your eyes, and then they turn red, and then everybody starts going, "Do you have pink eye?" And you're like,
Moist.
"No, I don't have pink eye." And
no moist.
and so then when this happens, when I recognize that this has happened, then I've got to be a little bit careful. And I like my thyroidism. I've had this since I was pretty young, so I'm good at managing it. But one of those things is taking that physical cue and respecting that.
Mm-hmm.
Patty's like, "Is it the dogs?" It's not the dogs. My dog brings me joy. But look at that right there. That's a nice, because I really I don't want to rush through the birds is what it is.
Right.
And I'd like to spend some time on doing the feather patterning, using, you guys are kind of doing this on the bird and fly, but using the grass combs, like these filbert combs, to like get these amazing feathered patterns and really get some bluebirds, because we won't necessarily get into it that deep on the YouTube channel on the icicle window, because that's what? She
won't
took
leave
your
you
sock
alone.
right
Yes.
off your foot. We got to get a sock cam on that dog. Yeah. Pink hair, not eyes. This is Clarice Nash. Yeah. Yeah. This is a little too much, right? It's just like I leaned in a little. I don't want to lean this deep into the pink and, get into that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my eyes. I'm going to put a washcloth over it and let them rest tonight until
Raheel, if you're not a patron after 1 month, just
I'm
We'll
connected
sure
to
you
you on
get
Facebook, just like today where I sent you the link. I'll give you the link.
We'll make sure you get the link. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah. If you aren't a patron next month and you didn't get the news, just write us at TheArtSherpa.com, support at TheArtSherpa.com.
And we'll get it.
And we'll get you a link to the video. We so appreciate the support of all of our patrons, and it is not our goal ever to mess with any of you. And I don't want to rush this, because this has turned out to be real pretty, and I want to be able to really place in the birds and spend some time with them so that they are, perfect. Not that, anything in a painting should be perfect, but I love their counterpose, and I just want to, get them luminous and, all that, obviously. So I love you.
Love you too.
Why is she? Oh, you took the. I'm sorry. My husband is so distracting with his socks and the dog. See, they do this cute thing, and they're so cute that I can't think. That's how cute they are. I just cannot think. All right. So definitely I will send out a newsletter again to all the same people. I will make sure it's in there. I'll probably get it in before the end of the month. The only reason that I won't is if this continues to just get worse and worse and worse. But it's not, because I'm going to put a washcloth on it, and I'm going to think very calming thoughts, and I'm going to think thoughts about my tear ducts. I don't know that even works, but what the heck? I'm going to, be positive about it. And honestly, if I steam them and take care of them, they'll be better in a couple of days. Yeah. And then I just, are they going to be big birds or small? They will be same scale, I think, in the painting, because the berries really set the scale. Like if I went really small with the birds, they would read like chickadees, right? So if it will have to be in similar scale, because we've got pine cones and we've got the birds and we have these pine ends, and your brain kind of has a sense of how large all that is in relationship to blue jays. You may not think that you know that, but you actually know a lot more about it than you realize. And if you don't kind of relate them in the same scale, it will read as wrong to your mind. I'd have to pick a smaller little bird, like a kingfisher or some other thing, if I wanted to make them tiny birds. You guys are the best, and I appreciate you spending this time with me. I'm sorry I can't get more than an hour going today, but I just am so grateful to everybody, and I think this will be better. I think this will be a better painting for being a two-parter.
Yeah.
Be good to yourselves, especially right now, all over the world. Take care of your health, take care of your families, take care of your communities. This is a time that we all need to lean together. We're all sharing the experience, and being there for each other is how we're going to get through. So be good to yourself, be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.